How does electricity affect how you feel? Well, we're going to talk about it today. I'm Jessica. Thank you for being here. Is there a direct link between how you feel, your overall health, and the electromagnetic field around you and in your world? Well, today I want to talk about a book that I think that everyone should get if you're curious about this, and it is called The Invisible Rainbow. And it is a book all about electroculture. It talks about different illnesses. It talks about how plants grow when there's electricity versus when there's not, and things like that. And I wanted to share with you a couple of stories from this book because I really want to encourage you to think about this. We, as a modern society, have grown up and we were born into this very electrical world. As a child of the 80s, I know that there's a TV in every house. There was a microwave in every house, multiple TVs really. And it wasn't long after that the CDs, the boom boxes, the development of the iPod, and eventually we got to cell phones, Wi-Fi. And so there's a constant barrage of frequencies going through our atmosphere. And what they don't want us to do is ask, is this okay? So I want to share a couple of stories from the book. The first one is going to show you a picture, and we are going to see a direct correlation between the amount of electricity and the overall health of the people of that time. So as you can see here in the book, it's talking about in 1916, in Maryland, this is what the power line system looked like. There were wires everywhere, and it was completely maxed out. Now, it was in the 1800s, the late 1800s, 1890s, that Western Electric was established, Edison General Electric was established, and the big push to get electricity through all of the cities in this manner was pushed. And it was around that time, in 1890, that the number of cases of influenza suddenly spiked. And as you can see over here, that the line shows that it was fairly low, fairly normal for multiple decades. All of a sudden, it spiked up. And if you were born in the 1900s, or now, if you know anything about our past, influenza was a huge scare. It was a big crisis. It's where a lot of our medical procedures and things came from. Was, what do we do? Oh my gosh, there's a potential threat, there's a potential situation of the major health concern kind. Not to use the P word, but you know what I'm saying. And so there was a direct correlation between the amount of electricity, the wiring, and what was going on in cities, and how many people were getting influenza at that time. So as our body's calibrated, I think my generation, it went through a few generations, and by the time it got to me, my generation was born having adapted to it. So the number of influenza cases wasn't a thing. There was also we were told there were medical advances that were helping with that and stopping influenza. But it was around the 1960s when a lot of this stuff evened out. Measles, influenza, and things like that. So another story that I want to talk to you about today is about a woman. It's a very strange case that happened in Santa Barbara, California in 1962, where a woman called the University of California and said, I need somebody to come out to my house because something's wrong. I keep hearing this noise. It will not go away. I can't sleep. I can't function. It's a problem. I think that something's going on, whether it's in the house or on the property, and can you all come and check it out? She had just moved to a house and found that whatever the noise was, it was irritating her. It would go away when she left the property for extended amounts of time, but she was living her life trying to take a break from her home because it was causing her problems. So Clarence Weiss, who was a member of the Laboratory for the Study of Sensory Systems in Tucson and a military contractor, went to her house and he ran a number of tests and found that there was definitely a higher than normal electromagnetic frequency that was running through her house. It was coming through the gas lines, the water lines, her radiator, her appliances. It was just in the phones and the electrical. And so he took a recording device, and the recording device measured the electromagnetic frequencies, translated that into sound, and when he played the sound for the woman, she said, yes, that's it. That's what I've been hearing all the time. Well, he discovered that she was extremely sensitive to electromagnetic fields. She was hearing electricity, and it was disturbing her badly. And so he did another test in which he put a high-frequency generator 100 feet from her house. He didn't tell her he did it. He didn't tell her about it. It was an experiment. And she called him later and said, I don't know what's happening, but now I keep hearing a barking dog. Somebody's dog is out, it's barking. Am I crazy? And he called her and he was like, absolutely not, and told her about the experiment. He was also able to translate that sound for her, and it sounds like a barking dog, sure enough. So he figured out that what was going on was that she was highly sensitive. It could have been a lack of insulation in her cochlea, or her cochlea. It could have been a lack of insulation just somewhere in her ears, okay? And people who lack this insulation may experience ringing in both of their ears all the time because of the electromagnetic field in our atmosphere around us. And so I wonder how many of you out there have experienced this, and if you have experienced it, are there places where you can go, or are there instances where you recall not having a ringing in your ear? You know, if you're somebody that's consistently hearing this ringing, and this was predicted. This was predicted by him. Weiss predicted that with the continual electrification of our society, complaints like this would become a big problem in the future. And so again, this was done in the 1960s, 1962 to 1963. That was when he worked with this woman to figure these things out. Now, since then, they have proven that over 80 million Americans have ringing in the ear, and it is not connected to tinnitus. It is not connected to tinnitus. And one of the only theories they have left is that these people are absolutely hearing and picking up the sound waves and frequency, and their brain is translating the sound, the electromagnetic sound, into a sound in their mind, and it is hearing electricity. So this is something, as I'm working on and getting into, and have been getting into, getting grounded. The reason I choose this, the reason I do this, is because it is very difficult. Of all the things that we do as people, as moms, as dads, as family, you know, we try to eat good foods, grow our own when we can, do as much as we can to minimize the effects of toxins and unhealthy things. But this is also exhausting. And I want to give you some hope, because the reason I do the magnetic copper, the reason I'm into grounding, walking outside barefoot, getting a grounding mat for your bed to help you sleep, is because we cannot, in our current state, do anything about how our world is set up. That doesn't mean that can't change one day. And I'm not saying electricity is evil. I think there are different things we could do, but I digress. For today, what we can do is stay grounded, because staying grounded, it stops the electromagnetic frequencies from building up in our bodies. So that's why these are EMF protectors. The chakra necklaces are EMF protectors, because what this woman went through in the 60s, and I'm sure the rest of her life, if she's still alive, and she may be, I don't know enough about her, it continued for the rest of her life. And is this a place we want to be at? Is this a thing that we want to have to deal with? Are we okay with accepting that we are adapting to toxins? Are we okay with accepting that? And maybe we could be, because if you can adapt and we can still be healthy individuals amidst it all, then we have time to figure things out, or maybe change things. But in the meantime, there are things we can do to minimize the negative effects of the toxic overload that we go through. When I was a child, we didn't have the Wi-Fi. We didn't have everything going on. The internet came out. It was a big deal. It was mostly emails. There was not a lot to look up online, things like that. So people didn't hang out online very much. But now it's wireless. It's being pumped through your house. They have proven that there is an effect on the human brain being around Wi-Fi all the time and things like that. And I'm not trying to get anybody worked up or anything, or offend anybody. I just want to say that there has to be a balance. And I believe always things we can do to minimize the effects and to help ourselves out and to help us regulate. And then we can push or talk about or hopefully invent a better way to do things that doesn't have to be toxic. So I wanted to bring this to you guys today. It's very interesting, if nothing else. So if you want the Invisible Rainbow, I believe it is available on Amazon.com. The Invisible Rainbow right here. And it is all about electroculture. It is all about the electricity that runs our world and a lot of information. Again, I'm not saying that electricity is bad or inherently evil or anything like that. I just think that we can honestly say that maybe we could get creative and find a better way to maybe insulate the electricity, a better way to use it. But when that day comes, and I can't wait for it, it'll be a great day. So thank you so much for being here and stopping by. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one.